Welcome back to the Tydirium Hangar. This is Mike, and I'm coming at you with the weekly news and review for October 31st, 2021, also known as Halloween. So those of you who may have celebrated some festivities last night like I did, I had a great time. Hope you did too. If you're celebrating festivities today, well, be safe and have fun. We have a lot of information to talk about for Transformers, Masterpiece, Legends, Mainline. Also, a couple things going on in other areas, a little bit with Star Wars, some other oddball stuff I'm going to talk about coming up. Starting off at Show Z, a couple really cool things that I want to talk about. First off, they've got the Legends version of Superion. Superion, my favorite combiner, but I'm not in on this set just yet. I think they might do a box set, but they have three more, the last three of these figures up for pre-order, but you do not know the price yet. It's going to be $1 down, and I don't think they'll be that much. But they have the G2 version of the Mastermind Creations MMC Bruticus up, and this is a G2 version, looking great. It's interesting looking the way it is, but it's going to be produced less than the G1 version, so prices are a bit higher. So the main bot is going to be a little bit more expensive, $195, and then there's going to be one of those, the Brawl, is going to be $145, and then the rest are $115. Now, the Brawl is going to come with some extra added feet. You look at the feet on this thing, and they put the build-up pack or the add-on pack feet with this to make it look a little bit better, to be more sturdy and all that and stout. They learned from the first go-around. So it's going to be more expensive, a bit more expensive, way more expensive than the first go-around. But it looks pretty good, and it's in much smaller quantities. So, getting into Masterpiece news real quick, we got this Future Toys X FF02 Black Widow. This is their Trans Metal 2 Black Arachnia, and it looks pretty interesting. It looks like it has a lot to offer, and it's going deep. Like, some of these newer companies are going to go deeper than what we're going to see from other companies, and I like that. That's pretty cool. I might be on board with this. Maybe. It looks really cool. Don't you think? So we did see X-Transbots put out pictures of their Ultra Magnus, and it looks pretty good. And I'm pretty excited for their Ultra Magnus overall. And I did talk about it a lot yesterday or Friday. So if you want to learn more about that or hear what I think about that, check out my Friday video. But let's get into more X-Transbots. So what X-Transbots is doing is putting out a bunch of recolors of figures that are coming, and I don't know what's going to come first and what's going to come last. And they're going to be, some of these are limited. So looking at this one here, this one is called the MX25D Matus Diamond version. Anyway, this is kind of a recolor of one of their Omnibots, and looks pretty good overall, kind of the green. Here it is in the alt mode, and it's going to be a really super clean alt mode. They are double, triple, quadrupling down on these. They've got to sort of come up with some reason to reuse these molds, because just the Omnibots might not sell well enough. And these, I think almost every one of these is going to be limited. Looking at this one here, they call it the MX16R Overheat Racer version. And it's drag strip blue. And it looks cool. It does look cool. So, we're using their drag strip mold to make this thing. And here's the alt mode. And the alt mode looks pretty good. And it's a good figure. It's a good figure overall. The engineering and the design, it works well. It looks good in both modes. Kind of what we want. And then getting into the MX25RR Matus Rainbow Racer, and I think this one is another one that's limited. If it's limited, it's limited to 500, and the pre-orders are not up yet, so it's going to be hard to get. Actually, they're going to make these chase figures, more or less. Here's the bot mode, and it looks pretty cool. Frankly, I don't know how many people are going to be chasing down every color variation of X-Transbots, but it's something they're trying. It's something that they're going to do, so there we go. Here we go with what they call the MX24R Yaguchi Racer type, and this one definitely is a limited 500 run, and they did this with some of their G2 versions, and it worked out for them, I guess. But this is kind of a thing that X-Transbots does, chase down their variants and all that kind of stuff. Here it is in its alt mode with its powered up guns and extra stuff like that. So really cool. And somebody told me what the car was, but I had a Nissan 200SX, and I swear this is a 200SX. But anyway, getting into this one right here, they call this one the MX-23D Fioravante Diamond version, and this one is only going to have 500. It's the yellow version of that Omnibot, my favorite Omnibot, by the way. And let's go ahead and look at the alt mode of this guy. And it's got the wings out, the guns out, and all that kind of stuff, which is the most fun with this figure. So we got pictures of the KO version of Takara's Starscream, and I'm shocked that we didn't get the brown box special. We're getting the full-on KO treatment with the actual box, so that's kind of going back to the old school norm. It even says Takara Tomy on it. That's weird. Okay, getting down, here is the alt mode in the packaging, how you get it, and wow, for like 125 bucks instead of 250. So it's half the price, and it looks every bit as good. I don't see any, well, you do see a little bit of gappage that I don't remember having in mine in the alt mode, right there in the center between the legs, so gap-legged. Now, here we go with, this is weird. Whoever had this compared it to the DS version of Starscream, and it looks just like the original Takara Tomy version of the 2.35, 2.5%. It's not a 3.0. I don't care what they say. Anyway, that's how it looks. Last thing I want to say about this Masterpiece option here, there are 4 new Fans Toys Masterpiece figures. I talked about them Friday, so watch the Friday video if you want to know more about that. But these figures all went up for pre-order on Shozi at a strange time. I didn't know it was up. I only landed 2 myself. So the other 2 I have to get from other sources or wait for them to come in stock. Shozi will put more up when they get their full order in and they fill all pre-orders. So I might go that route too. So getting into some TFCon news I have not talked about yet. The Bingo Toys, we got a fuzzy picture last Sunday, and we got clear pictures on Sunday at TFCon, and then it cleared up everywhere else. But their Shockwave is going to be their first figure out the gate. It looks pretty cool. I like the way it looks, and it also transforms into a gun. The gun's not the greatest, but let's look at that thing. Alright, so here it is in gun mode, and it works. It's okay. So the thing is that this is one of those things where they had to make up an alt mode because it did not exist in the lore. It did not exist in the first 4 minutes of the Bumblebee movie, but they're making Bumblebee movie figures anyway, so it's pretty interesting. So a lot of people are excited about the news from the MMC Medicus, and this appears to be an actual prototype, not just the renders. All others are renders, so looks pretty good overall. It's an arm. You see how it works. You see that the hand kind of works its way into the rear of the alt mode, and I'm sure it splits so it works in the legs of the bot mode. So pretty exciting, pretty interesting. I really think this set's going to be great. It's just going to be a few inches too small. Alright, so getting into some Legends news here. We've got the H41 Jones, their Beachcomber from New Age. And this looks pretty good. Now, if you missed out on the Magic Square one, or if you're like me and you missed out on the Magic Square one, and you're like me, I pre-ordered this guy. I'm looking forward to it. It looks pretty good overall. I don't really know how it would compare to Magic Square, so that might be interesting to see some of those reviews and comparisons. The New Age H43 TRY, or let's give it a try here at a Cyclonus. That's a good try. This thing looks good. I'm scared when it comes to New Age that it's going to be too small for my Magic Square, mostly Magic Square and McFans Toys collection. So when I look at this, it's beautiful. It looks great. It blows away what McFans Toys did. So, man, that looks good. I got this pre-ordered myself at Shozi. And we've got this Nemesis Prime coming out. So they got a lot of stuff coming with this, and this mold is going to get used like crazy. Like, New Age does usually 15 recolors, so Prime's going to get used like crazy. They got a yellow version of their Devi coming out, and that looks pretty good too. The G2 Devi, it's yellow, it makes sense. I don't know if they're going to kind of, like, they look at Toy World and say, Toy World has 26 different colors. Will New Age do that? Sticking with Legends, New Age has just a slew of figures coming. We've seen most of this already, but this is the Last Prophet, or their Alpha Trion, and it looks good. It's, in my knowledge of Legends, is not great, but I think it's the only Alpha Trion you have. Here we go with, they call it Tyrant's Wing, Phantascope, and Desert Rose. So, they look pretty cool, interesting, the way they are. We got, is that a Dirge? Here we go with Beachcomber, and so I'm leaning more towards the New Age Beachcomber, but they are stylized with this Iron Factory, and people love it, so they're going to go after it, but I'm leaning on the New Age. Here we go with their Surfing Arrow. They call this Surfing Arrow, and Sea Spray, it looks pretty good. I don't think he's going to talk with the gargled voice, though. His voice is going to be very clear. Here we go with the Hometown Watcher, or what we know as Huffer. So there he goes, and definitely a stylized take on Huffer. Way different. They take the G1 and keep it G1-esque and give it some style. Here we go with, so they've got like, I don't know, 8 of these different versions of this samurai warrior kind of thing, and it turns into a car. So it's cool, it's interesting if you're into it. They've got a bunch more of these. And we've got a Ratchet, but they call it Sakajawajuin? Sakajawajuin. Okay, whatever. They call it something, and it's pretty cool. Sika Juajin. Alright, so getting into some mainline news, some Hasbro news. And we kind of see that there's this Wheeljack out there floating around, and this Wheeljack is from the Bumblebee movie, Studio Series Bumblebee movie, and it looks pretty good. It's quite interesting what's going on with the Wheeljack. But no announcement from Hasbro. This was Prime vs. Prime, so thank you, Prime vs. Prime. And it's a pretty good figure. He said in his review that it's like one of the best figures ever made, ever by Hasbro. And so I believe him, so I'm on board. I'm going to buy it because it's the best. Also, here's the alt mode, and it looks good. And I forgot all the reasons why it's so good, but it looks good. So there it is next to, that's a Bumblebee or something behind it. So maybe that's the other Studio Series Bumblebee in an alt mode. So they have to create alt modes from scratch because we did not see all of the alt modes in the show. I think the Bumblebee, though, was in the movie, wasn't it? Okay, so we got pictures of the Premium Finish Optimus Prime. So the Premium Finish, this is the War for Cybertron Prime, and it looks good. It's fine. It's got more detail to it. It's got a different color of the chest piece and the windshield. It's got some battle damage scarring on the knees and other areas to it. So it's not exactly the same as what we had before. So this is the comparison shot. And if you're in on this, it looks pretty good. I want to say, I think a lot of people are looking for the Premium Finish version of the Studio Series Bumblebee version, because that thing is, I don't think it's so much sold out, was passed on and nobody bought it, and it didn't get another run. So that's the one people are after, but still you kind of get an idea of what they're doing with these premium paint finish versions of Prime. Here's the alt mode of that, and so I have the Toon version of this mold, and I just think that's the epitome of the greatest version of this mold, is the Toon colors or the Toon aesthetic or whatever. But both of these look pretty good. They have pluses and minuses, good and bad points to both of these versions, and it's kind of a question mark. If you have the first version, you don't need the next one. But if you never bought any of them, maybe you're on board with this just to get the mold. So I guess there's some video floating around about this new blaster. I didn't see the video. Maybe it's one of those Pulse Premium member only videos or whatever. I missed it somehow. Anyhow, they're making a blaster. We knew about this for a long time, for a while. This is the box art. This is the actual figure in the box. But I think we get more from the back of the box. So, looking at the back of the box, we see the blaster. It seems to share probably 40% of the Soundwave. The Soundwave from the Walmart exclusive. And it does kind of share a lot of that. But when you look at the alt mode, they've done quite a bit of retooling to achieve that alt mode. And it's mostly in the arms and the legs to really change it. I think the torso is almost identical, but then again, they changed out the whole chest piece for the eject and all that. And when you look at the little eject figure, they went with short and stumpy. They stayed with the same designs, more or less, that they did with the original figures they put out in the War for Cybertron of the Rumble and Frenzy. So a little disappointment there, but it's okay. For these characters, though, these mimic the G1 closer than Rumble and Frenzy mimic G1. So these kind of get a pass. In a way, I think they had this plan 3 years ago, and they knew they were going to make these figures, and that's why they all look the way they do. All right, getting into Transformers Legacy Selects lift ticket pre-order and sold out. I think it's sold out because as soon as I heard about it, I checked and it was sold out. So I didn't really stay on top of that one, so I missed it. But it's not that big of a deal to me. It's interesting because it's a red version of Hoist. The Hoist mold is good, and the Trailbreaker mold is good. It's just the fact that this is red, and I don't know the whole story behind it. It's a fan-dedicated line of figures, but this lift ticket figure was released in 2015 as a BotCon, a Diaclone version of a 2-pack souvenir set, and all this kind of stuff. But the weird thing is, it's a wrecker, and so it says wrecker on it. Well, it is actually technically a wrecker. It picks up wrecked vehicles. So, pretty cool, pretty interesting. If you want it, it's sold out. It might come back in stock. Maybe that Zartan figure will come back in stock too. Okay, so if I'm keeping track of TF Cons, the Toronto TF Con is coming up in December from the 10th to the 12th, and they're going to have the special guest Lee Tokar, the voice of Ravage. I love Ravage, but this is Beast Wars Ravage. Anyhow, I wonder if we're going to see any of these new reveals in a third-party panel there. If not there, then maybe in March. March 11th through 13th. So TFCon Los Angeles, that's going to be another TFCon that's a possibility of more reveals. And hopefully we see more stuff there. So it's kind of fun to see what's coming up. But the last TFCon, a lot of people feel was lackluster. I feel like it is a sign of the times of where we are in collecting, where we are with Masterpiece, Legends, and all that stuff today. Okay, so Transformers news out of the way. There's a lot of other stuff going on. So with the G.I. Joe Classified, this week they added 2 more announcements to the 8 they already announced. So we have 10 announcements. So the Cobra Officer is, of course, the redeco of the Cobra Island figure, and then the Trooper, the Infantry Trooper, and now we have the Officer. Looks good. There's a lot of extra stuff they added to this. Great, and it's the 3rd mystery figure in the wave to go with Spirit and Storm Shadow. Now, on the right, We have Josh F. Amazing job on the new figures. Everything you're doing. This Viper looks really good. It's what I kind of expect out of a classified Alley Viper. And I start to wonder, are we going to get Scoop to go along with it? But still, the Alley Viper is another army builder, so great. Still not available to pre-order that I know of, but the Officer is available everywhere else. So another thing that happened this past week was Silverhawks for Super 7 Wave 2 coming out, and I have to admit that I am a little bit smitten by this wave. This is the Mumm-Ra pre-transformation. We have Bluegrass, we have Still Will, and we have Windhammer with his blasted tuning fork. So there's a chair in there too. So all this stuff going on. So I'm kind of excited. I was holding back on Wave 1. I don't know if I'm going to go 100% in on these, but this is kind of exciting. It's kind of fun, and I might be in for all of them because there's not really that many characters that they will dial out. So $55 a piece, though, is a high entry level to buy every figure, every wave. But it seems like they're only going to be doing like 4 figures a year. That might not be too bad. So if you happen to have a Ross located anywhere around you, then you might get lucky and get a set of Dune figures. These are the standard scale Dune figures that are normally $25. And if you can see this in my picture here, $11 each at Ross. They had the whole wave. I got the whole wave. I might open them up and build that Build-A-Figure. Seems kind of exciting, kind of fun. I do like that. I believe this is McFarlane stuff here, and he does good work. Every McFarlane figure feels solid, good. I don't have any problems with it. I watched a review on this, and everything seemed to be pretty good. So, for $11 each, not a bad deal. Check your Ross. Okay, so getting into some Star Wars news. There's not a lot, but what there is pretty interesting. But I want to say that one week my news segment for Star Wars got messed up by YouTube, and they just had no sound for like 4 or 5 minutes. It was crazy. So I made a whole other Star Wars news segment, and it got very few views. So I start to wonder if any of my viewers even want me to continue talking about Star Wars. I was going to cancel this segment a while back, but I kept it going just because I like Star Wars. But I don't like what's going on with Star Wars. Getting into that, some of these things that are coming up I like. So Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, gets a Jedha Patrol Stormtrooper coming up. They announced it for the Black Series. Looks pretty good. I think that any excuse to make a troop builder, a Stormtrooper, whatever, is fine. If you want to mix it in as part of a wave, it's smart. So I'm not going to hate on that at all. Next, we get Omega. And Omega is one of those token child characters to make kids relate to the show, and that's why she exists. But my son, on one hand, hated her. He hated her. And on the other hand, loved her and wants this figure. He actually made me buy this thing called a POPS. And it's a bobblehead. I've never seen one of these before till he brought it up. The head bobbles. It's weird and it's deformed. So it's a POPS. I have a POPS of her bobbling because he didn't think they'd make this. But now they're making this, so I don't know what I'm going to do with the POPS. I don't know if there's a resale market for the POPS. But anyway, this looks great, and he really wants it. Next up, we have the Echo, and this is pretty cool too. Echo is one of those he's had a strange journey in the Clone Wars, now into the Bad Batch. So this figure here is going to be well sought after. Well, if you think about Tech is like almost non-existent. It's almost a myth. Tech's a myth. A myth that did they really make him or did they not? He's a Yak Face. Did they make Yak Face or did they not? That's Tech. He might follow the Tech thing. Now, Tech came into stock for about 2 hours at Walmart, and then Walmart systematically sold out very fast. Hopefully, I catch a second Tech at Walmart. Here we go with Bib Fortuna. Now, here's what I gotta say about Bib Fortuna. This is a classic Star Wars figure, and when I buy something like Bib Fortuna, or even the remnant of the current wave, which is Lando, which I bought two of, because he was all that was left at every single Walmart. But I love buying that Lando, and I'm going to love buying Bib Fortuna because he's a classic character, a classic original trilogy character, and I cannot seem to get enough classic original trilogy characters. I don't have a problem with buying these. I kind of feel dirty when I buy these new ones that I don't really have any vested interest in, and I feel like I waste my 23 plus tax, $25. I won't waste it when I spend that on him. So one of the weird things that happened this past week was the Ahsoka Tano and the Death Watch Trooper for the Vintage Collection. So here's what I gotta say. Now this is another different Ahsoka Tano. The third version they put out this year, I believe. If I got this all right. Fourth version if you count what's just coming up in the Retro Collection. So much going on with Ahsoka. But I want to say, and I haven't said this before, what's going to happen to the secondary market price when they reissue the 102 Ahsoka? That Ahsoka was almost a $1,000 figure. Now it's going to get bumped down a bit. But will it really? Or will it just keep astronomically going up in value because they'll have some slight packaging change variations? The Death Watch Trooper, on the other hand, sells out fast. Like, instantly everywhere. That is a cool figure, but I'll just catch it in the store, I hope. Fingers crossed. But vintage collecting these days for the vintage collection is a little harder than it used to be, even though the current wave is hitting really hard at Walmart and Targets. By the way, this wave has 3 more figures that are unannounced. Isn't it weird that they only announce like 1 or 2 figures? There's always an unannounced figure with Hasbro. What's up with that? Alright, so let me know what you think about this week's weekly news in review. Come on, what else is going on out there that I did not talk about, that I don't know about, and is really interesting and cool? I like to stay up on this stuff. Let me know in the comments below. Of course, like, subscribe, leave comments. Titanium Hanger. Out.